This video is about preamps, audio interfaces, and mixers. We're mostly going to talk about essentially how we deal with the level of a signal. So if you remember when we talked about microphones, the initial signal created by a microphone is just for moving a little coil inside the field of a magnet. So as you can imagine, that signal is probably fairly low in terms of voltage. So this chart shows us a low-level mic output, something like a ribbon microphone, puts out about 2.5 millivolts. A higher, like a condenser microphone, which would be much hotter, puts out 23 millivolts. But that's still way less than like a consumer line level, which would be, like a stereo component or something like that, or pro line level things like, what comes out of a keyboard or other, audio stuff like between the interface to the speakers or something like that. So we're gonna talk about some of those things. Most things need some sort of preamp. This is the thing that comes right after the microphone or the instrument or whatever, that boosts the signal. The one on the left is just a little desktop preamp. I actually have one very similar to that sitting on my desk that this microphone that I'm speaking into is running through right now, because this particular microphone isn't super hot, but I like what it sounds like. So if I run it through that preamp, I get more signal out of it. And it also allows you to add phantom power if you're using a condenser microphone. Preamps can be equally useful for if things are too loud, you can use them to control the signal as well. The one in the middle is another little desktop version. Well, you'll notice on the front there's a 20 dB pad, so you can make things softer. You have a couple of stages of gain control at the input and output level. And then on the right is a 4-channel preamp. So you see line level inputs and microphone / line inputs on that, and level controls for each of those. So often something like this would be the first thing you'd encounter out of the microphone. If you're just going straight to a computer, it's not uncommon to go directly into an audio interface. You see there's several models here. Some of them come in rack mount versions or other desktop versions. You see they all have microphone preamp inputs, mic plugs. On the Apollo down in the bottom right, that it's on the back, or sometimes off an extension cable from some other actual preamp like the previous ones we saw. So you don't have to use a separate preamp with these audio interfaces, although some people do because they like the coloration of the preamp. So every piece of gear that we use will color the sound a little bit in some way. Some things more than others. It's not always necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. I feel like this microphone that I'm using right now colors the sound a bit, but I like the way it colors the sound, so that's a good thing. Anyway, so you have microphone preamps or you have audio interfaces. The audio interfaces also double as the digital to analog converters and analog to digital converters that make the conversion to digital. And we're going to talk about digital audio in more depth in a couple of weeks. But just bear in mind, in the audio interface, that conversion from analog to digital and back also happens there. And then if you're in a live setting, you might have some sort of mixer. There's a smaller one on the left, a slightly bigger one on the right. And these have controls to set the trim or the gain coming in as well as going out. So these also function in the live setting like a preamp. You can use them to control the level and then also control some things like EQ and do some routing things and whatever as well. But all of these types of devices, the preamps, the audio interfaces, and the mixers, essentially function to let you deal with the level coming off of the microphone or the instrument of whatever case. So here's my rig on my desk right now. This is the stuff that I'm talking through exactly at this moment. On the left is a somewhat dusty looking, I probably need to clean that, little preamp that I use to boost the signal a little bit on this microphone. And then you see my audio interface. On top of that is a speaker selector. You see I have 2 sets of speakers there. That lets me choose which set of speakers to listen to. That part's not really important, but you see the preamp and the audio interface. In this case, I'm using both because the microphone that I like here sounds better with the preamp. I get better signal out of it. So there you go.